Your finger is hovering over the transfer button. $10 million. One tap, and you save your mom who is in a hospital bed about to die. You don't do it because of a reason that will seriously affect the next 12 months of your life. But that's not even the part that messes you up the most. Let me take you back. You wake up on a Tuesday. Nothing special. You grab your phone before you're even fully conscious. That half-asleep autopilot mode where your body's already doing things before your brain checks in. And you open your banking app. No reason. Just habit, and then your brain catches. Up $10 million, you blink. You close the app. You open it again. Still there. You splash water on your face like that actually does something. Still there. You screenshot it. You stare at the screenshot. You open the app again just to make sure the screenshot wasn't somehow the fake version. Still there. But there's one condition. You cannot spend a single dollar for 1 year. No purchases, no transfers, no gifts, no loopholes. Every transaction is being monitored. If you spend even 1 cent, the entire $10 million gets clawed back. Gone, like it never existed. And here's what nobody tells you about receiving $10 million with a catch. Your first emotion isn't confusion. It isn't even excitement. It's this cold, creeping feeling that something is very, very wrong. Because money without access isn't wealth. It's just a number. And for 1 second staring at that screen, you understand something about power that most people never figure out. But that understanding doesn't last long. Because then the fantasies start. And they are violent. A house, not just any house, the house, the one your family always deserved. No more rent conversation, no more we'll figure it out. A car that starts every time. Vacations that aren't calculated down to the last dollar. The version of your life where nothing is always slightly broken. You sit with those images for an hour, maybe 2, and then something snaps you out of it. Nothing changed. The fantasies felt real, but you're still in the same apartment, same problems, same life. $10 million sitting completely untouchable in an account you can see but never touch. And that's when you make the one decision that changes everything, though you don't know it yet. You tell your friend, not because you want advice, because you need someone to know this is real. He's the only person you trust enough to say this to without sounding insane. So you explain everything, the money, the message, the rule. You watch his face go through 5 different emotions in about 4 seconds, and then he laughs. Not a cruel laugh, more like, this is the most you thing that has ever happened to you. And honestly, that makes it worse because you're not laughing. You're trying to figure out how to exist for a year with a fortune you can't use. He says, just don't overthink it. It'll go fast. It does not go fast. The first week, he's supportive, curious even, asks questions, seems genuinely fascinated by the psychological experiment of it. But by week 2, something shifts. The comments start small. Nobody would actually know. You ignore it. I'm just saying, what's even the point of having it if you change the subject? But the thing about an idea planted in your mind is that it doesn't need to be watered. It grows anyway, especially at 2 a.m. when rent is coming up and you're doing the same mental math you've been doing for years, except now there's a number with 7 digits sitting 1 tap away. And then the rent notice actually arrives. Same amount, same problem, same tight calculation you've been making forever. Except now you're worth $10 million. And for the first time, the money doesn't feel like a gift. It feels like a taunt, like someone handed you water and told you that you're not allowed to drink it while you're standing in a desert. Your friend finds out about the rent. This is exactly what I've been telling you, he says. And this time, he doesn't sound like he's joking. He sounds like he's building a case. You're choosing to struggle when you don't have to. That's not discipline. That's just irrational. And here's the terrifying part. For about 30 seconds, it stops sounding like temptation. It starts sounding like logic. That's where the danger lives. Not in the obvious temptations, in the ones that start making sense. But that moment is nothing compared to what comes next. The call comes on a Thursday night. Your mom. The doctor's voice has that specific, careful quality, the one where every word is chosen, nothing is accidental, and the silence between sentences is doing as much work as the sentences themselves. Serious. That's the word that lands the hardest. Serious. You call your friend before you've even fully processed it, and his response is immediate. No hesitation. No, I'm sorry. Just forget the rule. This is different. And you feel it. Something in your chest just cracks open a little. Because he's not wrong that it's different. Your mom is sick. This isn't abstract anymore. This isn't a rent check or a car payment. This is the person who raised you. You don't ignore this, he says. You fix it. You have the ability to fix it right now. That night, you are sitting alone, phone in your hand, transfer screen open, your friend texting every 10 minutes. Just do it once. No one will know. You'll regret not doing it more than you'll regret breaking it. Your finger gets close, actually close, and then you close the screen. Not because it was easy, not because you stopped caring. You close it because somewhere underneath all that pressure, underneath your friend's voice and your own fear, there's a question you can't shake. What happens if you break it? Not to the money, not to the rule, to you, to who you become the moment you decide that rules bend when the pressure is high enough. You don't have an answer, but the question is enough to make you put the phone down. And then something strange starts happening that nobody sees coming. If you've ever felt like the system is rigged against you and not for you, stay with this. Because what happens next is the part that actually changes everything. Every time you imagine spending the money, the fantasy runs into the same wall. You can't act on it. So your brain does something unexpected. It stops fantasizing and starts analyzing. Instead of imagining the house, you start asking why you can't afford one. Instead of imagining the vacation, you start asking what kind of income would make that permanent instead of a one-time escape. The money is locked, so your thinking goes somewhere else entirely. One evening you walk past a laundromat and you don't see a building anymore. You see a system. Machines with predictable maintenance cycles, demand that doesn't fluctuate with the economy, cash flow that doesn't depend on a boss or a client. And you realize you're not looking at a laundromat, you're looking at a model. When did that happen? Because 6 months ago, you walked past that same laundromat and saw nothing. And then your friend reaches out again. Quieter this time. The anger is gone, but so is the closeness. He's struggling worse than before, and this time he doesn't frame it as advice. He just asks, directly, for money. And you have to say no, again, for the same reason. He doesn't accept it. The conversation escalates. Words get said that don't get unsaid. And then there's silence, not the temporary kind, the permanent kind. You don't talk after that day. Sit with that for a second, because that's not a small thing. That's not a plot point. Losing a friendship is supposed to be the moment where everything falls apart, where you question everything, where the lesson reveals itself in some clean, comfortable way. That's not what happens. What happens is quieter and weirder. The pressure he created, the daily questioning, the arguments, the alternate logic disappears. And without it, you are completely alone with the decision. No one pushing you to break it. No one confirming your right to hold it. Just you and the silence and $10 million you still haven't touched. And that silence is where the real transformation lives. The year ends on a day that feels like any other day. No fanfare, no notification. You open the app, the restriction is gone. $10 million available, finally. And you don't transfer anything. Not because of the rule is gone, but because somewhere in the last 12 months, the way you see money completely changed. You stopped seeing it as the solution to problems. You started seeing it as a multiplier. And a multiplier only makes what's already there bigger. If the systems in your life are broken, $10 million just means broken systems at a larger scale. And if those systems are solid, even small ones, $10 million becomes something else entirely. The money was never the test. You were the test. And the question was never whether you could resist spending it. The question was whether you could become someone who finally understood it. If this hit different, drop a comment with the one moment in this story where you would have broken. And if you want more videos that rewire the way you think, you already know what to do.